Hello everybody, it's me, Belinda from Be Yourself Quilting. And so I'm going to show you today how to make those, they're the kitchen boas you see in some of the specialty kitchen shops. They're pretty expensive. And I find they're quite, the neck part, it's not lined, it's very, it's just 100% cotton, and which is great, except for the fact when you wash it, it goes, and then you gotta iron. Okay, this isn't 100% solution problem. Okay, I've tried it several different ways, and so it's not 100% non-iron, but it's so much better than no lining at all. I don't know if you put cotton batting in it, it might be okay, but you'd have to do some quilting in there, and it might be too thick and warm around the neck. I mean, the kitchen gets warm. All right, so here we go. This is the one we're going to make today, or one like this. I went to the local Dollar General store because, look, I live out in the country, okay? Like way out in the country. And so to get to town, it's a 25-minute ride. Then you got to figure out where you're going in there. So you're talking 30, 35 minutes every time you want to run to town. And I just didn't feel like doing that. But they got a dollar store not far from me. So I shop there to try to not have to go into town so much. They have these little gingerbread towels. Okay, they're not real big, but they were $2 a piece. So I'll tell you how we're going to do it in a minute, but that's what I use for this one. On this one, it's a little stiff. You can see that. Let me put it on. It's a little stiff. So what I used in this one, I was trying to use what I had just to see what would work. I lined it with SF101, which is a woven interfacing. It seemed to stiffen it up pretty nice, and it, as you can see here, it lays pretty well. The ends are of course down here. It is a little stiff though, so I mean I feel it around my neck. Is it uncomfortable? No. I washed it, and it did have a couple long wrinkles in it, but nothing that a fast on the iron took out, like just 2 passes, not even as much as ironing a fat quarter. Okay. So that's this one. This is what we're going to make today. The next one I made is this one. Now on this one, see how soft that is? This one I used another woven product, but this is I really don't know what it is as far as what the number is. I'm going to show it to you. See how light it is, how easy and soft. It's woven, and it is fusible. The SF101 obviously is fusible too. This is, I'm gonna say, because I have it, it's probably something me and my mom bought together at some point over the years when we were making something. So it's probably a lightweight woven fusible interfacing, okay? I'm gonna assume that's what it is because that sounds like something we would have needed in some kind of thing we would have done years ago. So that's what this is. It's even got a little stretch to it. Let's see if it's got stretch the other way. Nah, not too bad. But anyway, it's very lightweight. It's flimsy. But when I used it, see how soft it is? So when I slide this one on, it fits more like a soft scarf that you would have, you know, out in winter or something. So this one's really nice. I like this. I washed it, I dried it. It still had a few wrinkles in it. Same difference, just a quick iron down the middle. I don't know what you could put in it to make it wrinkle free unless you totally made it like a quilt. And that's not how I'm gonna do this because this is a turnout project. So it's not gonna be made like 3 layers. It's not gonna be made that way. All right. So we're gonna get started on making these. Now this towel here was not a bought towel. I mean, the towel was bought, but I had embroidered on this towel for my kitchen. So I decided just to use one that I had, and I cut it in two and made it look collar. And I've used this one in my kitchen for sure. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the towel. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure its length. And I'm going to cut it in half. Okay. And once I do that, we'll work on it from there. So let me just tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need a towel. I bought these, like I said, at the dollar store. You can just buy a plain towel if you don't want anything fancy on it. If you want it seasonal, you can look at Walmart, the dollar store, I don't know, at home, Home Goods, any places like that should have some kind of decorative towel. If you're an embroiderer, you can embroider them, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do is measure and cut this. The next thing you're going to need two 1/3 yard pieces of fabric with a fabric. Now, the reason I say two is this. To make this boa, you're going to need a measuring tape, okay? You're going to measure from your hip bone all the way around, up and back down around your neck, and back down to the top of your other hip bone. Top of hip bone to top of hip bone around the neck. When I measure mine, I got 55 inches. I added an inch for seam allowance, so that'd be 56 inches. Now, when you measure with the fabric on a piece of fabric, you're not going to get but anywhere from 40 to 42 inches. So that's still going to leave me, if it got at 40, it leaves me 16 inches that I'm short. So I need to cut the difference. In order to cut the difference, I'm going to take this 40-inch piece here. I got one piece that's 40 inches. I'll just open it up and show you. 10.5 by 40 inches. This will go around the neck. Then I have two pieces that are 9.5 by 10.5, okay? And that allows for my seam allowances and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I have. I'm going to take these two pieces here, and I am going to sew them right sides together onto the ends of the center piece that I cut. Now, you can do this any way you want. If you have a piece of fabric that's the right yardage, by all means, use one solid piece of fabric. I mean, you might be going to make several of them for different people, so you might just want to buy length of fabric, whatever it is, 60 inches or whatever. So you might want to buy like 2 yards of fabric or 1 3/4 yards, whatever you need, and just cut long lengths of it and just have it wrap all the way around. However you want to do it. That's up to you. You may want more than this. Just remember, every time you add another piece of fabric, you've added another seam. You've got to account for that 1/2 inch of seam that accumulates if you add more fabric and more fabric and more fabric. And you can do that. It'd probably be beautiful patchworked. So I didn't think about that till just now. All right, so those two things you have to think about. Need that. And then you're going to need enough of this woven fusible interfacing, this soft stuff, to go the length. Now, I did not buy a whole big pile of this because I had some. So what I did was I had enough to make 2 pieces out of it. So I'll just iron one piece to one side and one piece to the other. It won't matter. Nobody's ever going to see that. So let's get started with this. If we look at this, let me see how long this is. It'd be easier to measure it from the corner over here. So this is 23 inches. Let me grab some pins, guys. Okay, guys, so 23 inches divided by 2. So that would be 11.5 inches, right, to the center. 11.5 plus 11.5 would be 23. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So here, this will be our center, 11 and a half. Make sure that's all straight. This is all straight. Okay, so we're going to cut that right down the center. Let me get my rotary cutter. We cut it in half. We're going to take and we're going to fold this in, we're going to turn this wrong side up. Now we're going to measure the middle of this, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here should be our center. So now we're going to go 2 1/4 inches to this side, and we're going to go 2 1/4 inches to this side, okay? Just like that. Next, you're going to take and you're going to fold this towel at this mark all the way across and then back to the edge, just like that, okay? We're going to take and we're going to pin it. 1. I'm just going to use 2 because we are going to put stay stitching in that, but we just want to hold it until we can get it to the sewing machine. Okay. We're going to take this same thing. We're going to go from this pin all the way over and then back to the center, okay? And that is how we're going to make that fit inside that 10.5 inch wide tube. All right, guys. So I'm just going to reach in here and remove the pins on the corners. Now when we flip it over, see it's got that little flare to it. And that's what we're looking for, okay? Let's do that one more time. This should be the same way. We'll make sure it's the wrong side up. I did cut the tag out of it. So it should be 7 to the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This line. 5, 6, 7. Right there. 1, 2 1/4 should be right here, and 1, 2 1/4 should be right here. Same thing, we're just going to fold it this way and back. And then this way and back, just like that. All right, now that's all the prep work we need to do here at the table. Now we'll be ready to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm just gonna leave the center pin in for right now. I don't think it doesn't matter whether you leave it or take it out. It doesn't have any bearing on this. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to leave the fusible over here. Get the iron warming up. And we're going to take this and we are going to go over to the sewing machine. Okay, to start with, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this towel, either side, because we're going to do both. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to put it under our foot. We're going to sew with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. It's really just to base stitch this in place. As I'm doing this, I'm just going to make sure that my towel is kind of even across the top. So I can take out these first couple pins till I get to the halfway mark. Let me change my stitch length. I'm sorry, it's very short. And with this being as thick as it is, a wider stitch length is much better choice. Okay, so I'm going to take out the center pin. And then I'm going to make sure this is aligned here. I'm going to skip over. And get all that down. There we go. Take this pin out. And this is just the stay stitch, okay, guys? We'll do that one. Then we're going to follow right behind it with this one. I'm sewing it from the reverse side because I just feel like I can control the situation a little better this way. Like seeing where everything's lining up, making sure the folds are flat and all that. So as you see, that center pin really was not a necessary thing. Okay. Okay. So those are done. I'm going to cut them apart. As you can see, it's just a little bit of a seam there, just to hold it together. Now, we're going to need these for a few minutes. I'm going to set these to the side. Okay, our next step is we're going to sew right sides together, this piece on each end. Now, in the pattern that I've written, I tell you to sew it this way, okay? But as I discussed, you do it how you want. If you have a piece of fabric that is long enough, you just do it. Because I had that with the bee, well, not really. It looks like I had that with the beehive, but the words, I had to cut it at the middle because the words would have been upside down on the other side. Okay, let me see if I can't get this lined up here, guys. And line it up completely, 1/4 inch. Okay, so now we see, as you can see here, we have an end added to both sides, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to press this seam open, okay? And then after I do that, I am going to iron that interfacing on this. Now you do not have to do the interfacing step. That is strictly up to you if you want to do that. If you don't do it, it's going to be a little more wrinkly. Unless you use some different kind of fabric besides 100% cotton, then it might not be. I mean, maybe you use t-shirt material and it wouldn't be. I don't know. I would think that would need to be stabilized too, because not for wrinkles, but for just being all squishy in every direction. Well, hello, Miss Cupcake. How are you doing? Anyway. Are you enjoying your new bed that Mama made you last week? I'm just getting eyeballs. Okay. That's up to you. So anyway, that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to press this open. I'm going to put the interfacing on here, and then we'll be back. Okay. So the not this. So the fusible interfacing, the lightweight fusible interfacing is now adhered to the back. I did not run it all the way to the corner because it really didn't bother me if it was run all the way to the corner. If it's not in the seam allowance, I'm okay with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a tube, okay? Right sides together, lengthwise of your scarf, your boa. We're going to make a long tube. Now you can pin if you want to. I probably should, but I'm not gonna. All right, let's put that down. We need to get this here. So as we're going along here, when we get towards the middle, we need to leave about an 8-inch opening. Now you can mark it with a pen, you can remember, you can mark it with a pencil, it doesn't matter. This one here, I have where it came together, so I'm just going to put it about right here, and I'm just going to hold it. When I get to this point, I am going to back stitch. And this is for turning. Cut the thread. Then I'm going to skip over a bit. You need to skip over probably more than you think, because it's kind of tight getting your hand in there to turn this. But if you had some hemostats or something like that, you could grab it with that. So we're gonna do a couple back stitches on this side too. And then we're gonna get going again. So guys, I didn't back stitch at the beginning, but I should have. Because you're going to be putting a little pressure on this, okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to move this back down to the other end, and I am going to re-sew that in just a little bit. Just because, like I said, it's going to take some, oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Wrong sewing machine. Okay, that should be good. Okay, I'll meet y'all back at the table. Okay, guys, so this is the opening that I left here in the middle of the tube. Probably should have left it a little bigger than that. So we have an opening here and an opening here. We're going to take the tube now, and we're going to open it where the seam we just sewed is going to be in the center. And I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to give it a press. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I took it to the ironing board, and I just pressed this center seam in one direction. It doesn't matter, but make sure you do it in the same direction all the way down, okay? So here's the deal. We're going to now consider this the back of the boa. Front side has no seam, back side has the seam. We're going to take our towel, and we are going to put it right sides to right sides. In other words, the pretty side of the towel to the flat side. And we're going to shove this up in here, okay? And you may have to go here into the hole that you left in the middle and work it down in there a little bit, okay? So if you have really large hands, you may have to have a hemostat or something to do this. Okay, so we got it in there. Now, we're going to take it and we're going to even it up with the end, just to the edge. And we're going to take this center of the seam and we're going to line it up with that center where the two pieces came together. Okay, just like that. And we're going to put a pin there all the way through. Then we're just going to grab this towel, just make sure it's laying as flat as you can get it. Okay, and hold it just like that. That's it. Now we're going to turn it around. And we're going to repeat. Even though there's no decoration on this towel, it still has the right side. The seams are finished. The pleats in that direction. And we are going to just kind of, if you kind of fold it to get it started, you can get it fed pretty good in there. Oh, see, now that one went all the way. So I didn't have to, you might have to just shake it a little bit. The next thing we want is to line up that center seam in the towel with that center seam that we sewed there. Oops. Gotta go all the way through, Belinda. So you gotta lay it down. There we go. Then we're just gonna kind of make sure this side is pulled even. Work it out flat. And then this side. And then we're going to pin it here. Ouch. See? And then we're going to take it back to the sewing machine and we're going to sew those edges and turn it out. Almost done. Okay, so we're back over here. I'm going to sew this seam. And I'm going to make this seam on this end about 1/2 inch. This says 5/8. That's probably a good place for me on my sewing machine here. Just so it's not less than 1/4. I want it a little bigger because I want to make sure it's good and in there. So, and I'm just going to go, and then I'm going to back stitch. And this is a little thick, so if you need to put on a walking foot, oh, let me lengthen that stitch length. This one seems to have a really good, strong, tight. Oh, I hit the wrong foot again. Okay. And take that pin out. Okay, so we got that done, and now we're going to just turn it around to the other side. Ouch, ouch. And we're going to do the same exact thing. And we're going to sew it here. Now guys, this thing is pretty much done except for the turning of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to reach in this hole here that we left. Like I said, if you have wide hands, you might have to reach in here with a hemostat or something and grab it. And I'm going to just grab it like that. There we go. And it's just going to start turning. Should be able to just pull on it now. There we go. And that end is done. See how it, oops, I don't know what I knocked off. See how the smooth side is on the right side of the towel? How it comes out like that. And go back in here. Get your hand back inside the other side. I like that the seams are all finished. I really like that. I don't like having to fold that seam up and wrap it around the towel and all that kind of stuff. I think that's way, way, way too complicated. This might be a little cumbersome to get started, but I think in the end, overall, your finish will be easier and more professional looking. And I am by no means no seamstress, so it took a lot of hours laying awake at night sometimes for me to figure all this stuff out. Okay, there we go. So, there we go. And there you go. So we got a couple of strings here we can just pull out or cut, whatever. And then, so, you have your, I'm not going to cut that because that's going to drive me crazy. Just be careful when you're trimming stuff like this that you don't accidentally cut something important. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I like the way, when we iron it, it's going to give it that little flare at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. So the next step is this. We're going to take it over to the ironing board and we're going to give it a nice pull. And we are going to definitely iron this flat now, okay? Right side's up. Iron it all the way down. Next thing we're going to do, so when we do that, it's going to cause this here. This is that seam in the middle. Okay, so I can't get that straightened out so I can show y'all. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to do this on camera. Everybody knows how to sew up a seam. But when you kind of iron that out, I don't know if you can see it there, but see, it's going to pull itself, or this top part, because we ironed the seams all to one side, it's going to kind of automatically tuck that seam in there. And we'll just whip stitch that closed, and then we'll come back to the sewing machine and do a top stitch. Okay guys, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I got it all pressed. I closed the hole with a hidden stitch there. I just used the ladder stitch is what I use. I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch top stitch. I've changed my thread to a kind of a dark burgundy color because, again, I have no red in cotton. We won't going to talk about that. And so we're going to just do a top stitch all the way down. And when I get to the end, I'll slow down and show you what we're going to do. Okay, this is kind of get in the way just a minute. I don't know what I can do about that. So now that I'm down to the end, let me just show you. Okay, so we're down here, and so I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from this seam all the way across. Then we'll do a 1/4 inch back up and around. That's really what I wanted to show you. Make sure your towel ain't make sure your towel isn't all wadded up underneath there, because that could be a disaster. Okay, here we go. So as we approach here, I'm just going to trim that thread off the top, and we're just going to overrun this thread by a little bit, and then we're going to do a back stitch, and then we'll tie it off. Now I'm going to do a reverse stitch. And that's it, guys. This thing is finished. It is really fast to make. I think it turned out quite pretty. I'm going to put it on the board, and then I'll grab the camera and we'll have a little look at it, okay? Well, see? Look at Cowboy and Cupcake laying on their little blankets out here in the shop. All right, so that's all three of them. This one is the one we just finished. That's the second one I made, and that's the first one. The first one was a trial to test my pattern. I cut it at 9.5 inches wide instead of 10.5, and I have to be honest with you, it is extremely hard to get your hand in there to turn it. The second one, as I was telling y'all, get a little closer, it had words on it. So I ended up splitting it at the top and sewing the seam there because I wanted the words to read correctly on both sides, okay? And then the third one we just made together. So I hope y'all enjoyed this. I think this is something you could do really fast, especially if you have a few pieces of fabric on hand. I think that would make a quick present, quick gift to anybody. So y'all let me know what y'all think. And remember to always be yourself. Have a blessed day.